So hi guys, it's Smortown here with a video for Destiny 2 where we are going to be testing the usefulness and the strength of the Tether or Shadowshot of the Nightstalker and whether it actually does do what we think it does, which is weaken bosses, weaken enemies, as well as providing orbs and buffs for your party. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to test was the actual super itself, where it says weakens and suppresses its enemies. So here we will see that I am going against this taken Centurion, and my sweet business does 34 per pap, and then I will use the Tether, and indeed that damage is increased to a yellow critical 46. Now that means that the Tether does indeed weaken enemy defences, allowing you and your fireteam to do extra damage against boss and mobs. In addition, it does slow enemies that are caught in the Tether, as we all probably already know. But just to illustrate the effects, here is a Centurion firing his orb at me, and as you can see it is considerably slowed before it reaches to me. So we can tick off the fact that the Tether on its very own, without any of the ways and the perks, does indeed slow, suppress and weaken our enemies, making it very useful for bosses in PvE. Now the next thing I wanted to move on to was the Way of the Pathfinder, which the majority of this video is dedicated to because it is the one that offers the most utility when coming to the Tether. Now the perk we're going to be looking at is the Heart of the Pack perk, which apparently boosts orb generation and boosts the resilience, mobility and recovery of a team when used. So if we use the perk and we fire the Tether, we see here that a large amount of orbs are generated when indeed I do use it, and those enemies are killed. The next thing you'll notice is in the left hand side of the screen a little thing called Heart of the Pack pops up, and this can actually stack, increasing the effects. Now I've got a little clip here that seems to illustrate the effects of this perk. You see that when I stand on front of these taken, I'm able to take a considerable amount of hits, a lot more than I would be able to use. And considering my hunter's recovery is near rock bottom, we can see a marked improvement. So once again the Tether does do as it says in the tin with this perk. Once again I will illustrate that a lot of orbs are generated when I kill this mob, and again the perk pops up in the left, which means we do get bonuses and buffs as a team. Now the final thing for the Way of the Pathfinder I wanted to test was the Mobius Quiver. Now I wanted to see if indeed the multiple shots after the first shot do extra damage. So the first thing I tested it on was a mini boss from a lost sector, and as you see each successive shot does indeed build up on the boss here until it caps around 1700 at this point. This does show that each successive hit does do massive damage as advertised, but what about an actual boss? Well, I tested the Tether against a number of bosses, including the Large Shrieker and Brachion, the Axis Mine of the Vex on this strike. And as you can see illustrated against Brachion, it certainly does indeed increase with each successive hit, again probably capping. And this was the same for the Large Shrieker boss. So we can see from this test, if you use the Way of the Pathfinder, the Tether A weakens enemies to your damage of your fireteam, slows them, and it also increases orb generation, boosts your team's perks, and increases damage of each successive shot with the Mobius Quiver. Now that is quite the boost, and we can see the Nightstalker is just as useful as we thought it was with a bit of testing. Now with this testing you should see that the Way of the Pathfinder really is the PvE choice. But just to show what the Trapper does, I did do a little testing with it as well, and it does have a lot longer reach, and the Tether does seem to last a very long time, as you can see in this clip. It lasts for a very long time indeed, and it does track your enemies, although I don't really see the huge usefulness in this. But just for completeness, I wanted to show you guys what the Way of the Trapper looks like. But again, you will be wanting the buffs that the Way of the Pathfinder gives. Now, I hope that was useful in kind of highlighting what the PvE state of the Nightstalker is. I didn't really want to do much testing on PvP because I don't really use Nightstalker for PvP. However, if you guys kind of think it would be useful, I could look into that too. But I hope this proves that the Nightstalker is useful, and when you use the way of the Pathfinder, it will definitely be a PvE contender, one to definitely use. So thanks guys, that kind of sums up my testing. Please let me know what you thought of the video, and subscribe if you would like some more Destiny 2 content, because I'm definitely planning more. Thanks very much guys, and get out there.